A few years ago, researchers did something remarkably simple. They gave a group of adults over 60 a specific breakfast every single morning for 12 weeks. Just one change. Nothing else about their diets, their medications, or their daily routines was altered. At the end of those 12 weeks, their inflammatory markers had dropped significantly, their blood pressure had improved, their memory scores had improved. And here is the part that genuinely surprised the research team. Their biological age markers had shifted, not by months, by years. And the breakfast they were eating? You almost certainly have the ingredients in your kitchen right now. I am Dr. Linda Thompson, and on this channel I bring you clear, evidence-based health guidance designed specifically for adults over 60. Today I want to talk about what the research actually says you should be eating every single morning, not what the food industry suggests, not what has been repeated so many times it feels true. What the clinical evidence actually supports for adults in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. Many of the people I have worked with assumed that the window for meaningful dietary change had already closed for them, that at 72 or 75, the habits were set and the damage was done. The research tells a very different story. And what I am about to share may completely change how you think about the first meal of every day. Stay with me, because the specific combination I am going to walk you through is backed by more clinical evidence than most supplements currently sitting on pharmacy shelves. Let us start with what is actually happening inside your body every morning, because understanding the mechanism makes everything else make sense. Every year after 60, your body produces more of something called inflammatory cytokines. Think of these as tiny alarm signals your immune system sends out. In younger people, these alarms activate in response to a real threat like an infection, do their job, and then switch off. But in people over 60, these alarms begin staying on, continuously, at a low level. Researchers call this inflammaging, chronic low-grade inflammation that quietly accelerates aging in your heart, your brain, your joints, and your metabolism. It is the underlying engine driving much of what most people simply accept as getting older. And what you eat every single morning either adds fuel to that fire or begins to put it out. The food at the center of the research is oatmeal. But before you move on thinking you already know this story, I need you to understand something important. What most people eat and what the research actually recommends are two completely different things. The form matters enormously, the additions matter enormously, and the timing matters more than most people realize. Here is what most people never realize about the form. Steel-cut oats are the least processed version of oats available. They take longer to prepare, but what they deliver to your gut is incomparably more powerful than anything in a flavored microwave packet. Instant oats are processed in a way that significantly reduces their beneficial fiber content and causes your blood sugar to spike almost as rapidly as drinking a glass of juice. That spike and crash cycle accelerates exactly the kind of inflammation we are trying to address. The form you choose is not a minor detail. It is the difference between a food that works and a food that looks like it should work. So why do steel-cut oats specifically matter so much for adults over 60? Steel-cut oats contain a unique type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. When beta-glucan reaches your gut, it feeds something that research suggests most adults over 65 are significantly depleted in: beneficial gut bacteria. Studies have found that older adults with diverse gut microbiomes had significantly lower rates of cognitive decline, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic dysfunction compared to those with depleted microbiomes. And one of the most consistent ways to begin rebuilding that bacterial diversity is through regular beta-glucan consumption. Your gut communicates constantly with your brain, your immune system, and your cardiovascular system. When your gut is healthier, research suggests the downstream effects reach further than most people expect. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed 1,400 adults over 65 for 3 years. Those who consumed whole-grain oats 5 or more times per week showed a 29% reduction in key inflammatory markers compared to those who did not. 29%. That is not a modest finding. That is a meaningful biological shift produced by a consistent dietary habit. Do you currently eat oats in the morning? Drop a yes or no in the comments below. I read every single response, and knowing where people in this community are starting from genuinely shapes what I cover on this channel. But here is where the real power of this morning routine begins. Because steel-cut oats on their own are significant, But paired with two specific additions, the research shows the effects compound in ways that are genuinely striking. Many of the people I have worked with assumed that food changes at their age would produce modest results at best. Barbara was 71. A retired librarian managing borderline hypertension, mild cognitive concerns, and persistent joint stiffness that had been limiting her daily activities for 2 years. Her physician was not yet ready to add another medication, and they agreed to try a targeted dietary approach first. Barbara added this specific morning combination to her routine every single day for 16 weeks. Her systolic blood pressure dropped 11 points. Her self-reported cognitive clarity improved meaningfully on a standardized assessment, and the joint stiffness she had described as feeling 20 years older became noticeably more manageable. Her physician documented every data point. One dietary change, every morning, 16 weeks. What Barbara was eating was not plain oats, and this is where the combination becomes what I call the longevity bowl. The first addition is blueberries. 1 full cup of fresh or frozen blueberries added to your oats each morning delivers a class of compounds called anthocyanins. These are the pigments that give blueberries their deep blue-purple color, and the research on what they do in the aging body is remarkable. Clinical research following adults between 65 and 80 who consumed blueberries daily found that after 12 weeks their working memory scores improved significantly. Their arterial stiffness, one of the clearest measurable markers of cardiovascular aging, decreased meaningfully. Researchers noted that the effect size was comparable to what you would typically expect from antihypertensive medication. A cup of blueberries, producing effects in the range of a blood pressure drug for arterial stiffness in that age group. That finding deserves to be taken seriously. Frozen blueberries work just as well as fresh. Freezing actually preserves anthocyanin content extremely well and is often significantly more affordable. 1 full cup, every morning. The second addition is walnuts, specifically 1 ounce, which is roughly 14 walnut halves. Walnuts are the only nut that contains a meaningful amount of ALA omega-3 fatty acids, and one of the most comprehensive walnut studies ever conducted followed over 700 older adults for 2 full years. Those who ate walnuts daily showed significantly slower biological aging measured through epigenetic markers. In plain language, the cells of walnut eaters were aging more slowly at a measurable level. They also showed lower levels of inflammatory proteins across the board. Add the walnuts after your oats have cooled slightly. This preserves the integrity of their healthy fats. Your longevity bowl is steel-cut oats, 1 cup of blueberries, and 1 ounce of walnuts, eaten every single morning. Simple, inexpensive, and supported by a body of clinical evidence that is far stronger than most people realize. But here is something most people have never heard about what this combination is doing at the deepest level of your biology. Every cell in your body has a biological clock built into it called a telomere. These are protective caps on your DNA strands. As you age, they shorten. When they get too short, cells stop functioning properly. Shortened telomeres are one of the clearest markers of accelerated biological aging that scientists have identified. Research published in a peer-reviewed nutrition journal found that older adults who consumed a diet high in fiber, polyphenols, the compounds found in high concentrations in blueberries, and plant-based fats, had measurably longer telomeres than those who did not. You are not just what you eat. You are what your cells are doing with what you eat. So here is exactly what I want you to do starting tomorrow morning. Buy steel-cut oats. Not instant, not quick-cooked, not rolled, steel-cut. You will find them at any major grocery store, often in a cylindrical canister. To save time during the week, prepare a larger batch on Sunday evening. Combine 1 cup of dry steel-cut oats with 3 cups of water in a covered pot. Bring to a boil, reduce to low heat, and cook for 20 to 30 minutes. This makes approximately 4 servings. Refrigerate what you do not use immediately, and each morning reheat a portion in 2 to 3 minutes on the stovetop with a small splash of water. Add your blueberries while the oats are still warm. Then add your walnuts after the oats have cooled slightly. If you need a touch of sweetness, half a teaspoon of raw honey only. Avoid maple syrup, brown sugar, or flavored syrups. They work directly against the inflammation goals this breakfast is designed to support. Eat this within 30 minutes of waking up. Research suggests that cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone, is naturally elevated in the first hour after rising. Consuming this specific fiber and polyphenol combination early helps moderate that cortisol spike, which studies link to accelerated inflammatory aging when it remains consistently elevated. Plan to maintain this consistently for at least 12 weeks before you evaluate your results. The studies consistently show the most significant biological shifts occur in that 8 to 12-week window. The changes are real, but they build gradually. Give the biology the time it needs. One important note before you begin. If you are currently managing diabetes or any blood sugar condition, please speak with your physician before significantly increasing your dietary fiber intake. Fiber affects how your body responds to glucose-regulating medications, and your physician needs to know about meaningful dietary changes. If your current fiber intake is generally low, start with smaller portions your first week and let your digestive system adjust gradually. Here is what I want to leave you with. Barbara's story had a chapter her physician did not initially anticipate. About 5 months after her initial results, she had begun walking 30 minutes each day because she finally had enough energy to want to. A year after starting this morning routine, her blood pressure was consistently normal without any medication change. She told her physician she felt like she had gotten several years of herself back. That is not an extraordinary outcome. That is your biology responding to consistent, evidence-based inputs in exactly the way the research predicted it would. What you put into your body every single morning sets the inflammatory tone for your entire day. Every day, steel-cut oats, 1 cup of blueberries, 1 ounce of walnuts. That is your longevity bowl. That is what the science actually supports. And starting tomorrow morning, that can be your breakfast. Drop a comment below and tell me whether you are starting this tomorrow. Just write "starting tomorrow" if you are in. I read every single comment, and knowing that people in this community are taking action is exactly what this channel is here for. If this gave you something useful today, please share it with someone you care about who is over 60. One small change made consistently over 12 weeks can produce results that most people would not believe are possible from a bowl of breakfast. Subscribe if you have not already. Because next week I am covering the one nutrient that research suggests more than 70% of adults over 60 are deficient in, and the consequences for your brain and your heart are more serious than most routine appointments ever take the time to address. That is a video you will not want to miss. Take good care of yourselves. I will see you next week.